I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, November the 9th, and the basis is back. The board's been down all week pretty much, and it finally got down below what the cash is. So now we've returned to a basis for the hedged feeders, which they've been dealing with the negative basis here for quite some time. And even though the market's been really good, they've been taking that hit whenever they close out their paperwork there. But the board was down, the basis is back, and that was the main reason for guys selling fats a little bit cheaper this week. But December live cattle was down $1.70 on Wednesday at $122.95 to end the day. January feeder cattle down $3.62 to end the day at $156.90. And like I said, the board being down early in the week brought the basis back, was the reason for your cattle feeders to succumb to, it's probably going to be higher on the weighted average, but it was lower from the top of last week. And then when they did that, that sent out a negative signal, which caused the board to go down even more. But you look at the fat cattle trade, they actually sold some cattle late Tuesday at 124, and it continued in on Wednesday morning with the Southern Plains selling all their cattle at 124. Northern Plains 122 to 124, with those late sales at 122 after the board went down even more from the negative signal of taking $1 less from last week's top. Dress market was settled in at 192, which would be lower also. But you look at the Fed Cattle Exchange, which I realize it was less than 1,200 head, another light run, but it's still a signal of kind of what's going on out there. They had already been selling cattle, of course, the night before and Wednesday morning at 124. So when they opened up that Fed Cattle Exchange at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, most of your Southern Plains pins that were on there sold at 124. Then you got up into Kansas and had a pin sell at 123.50. But when you got into the Northern Plains, which had not yet established their market, couldn't get a bid. They weren't going to take a chance on setting the market at any price on that Fed Cattle Exchange, especially not on a pin or two. They weren't going to take a chance on doing that, so those went unsold. But like I said, had some trade on Tuesday night. Through Tuesday, they had 15,200 head, and the weighted average was 123.81. Most of those sales at 124, with a few deals like at 122, but and had a few dress sales also on Tuesday at 195. But like I said, after all those negative signals, once they established that market in the Northern Plains, it went down to 192. Slaughter's been pretty good so far this week. 351,000, that's 2,000 more than last week and 7,000 more than the same week a year ago. Box beef cutout values holding the gains middle of the week that we saw earlier in the week, and your packers are sitting pretty. They're going to have a nice margin on the cattle that they're buying, as these box beef cutout values are really getting back up there and holding the gains middle of the week. But you look at your feeder markets, your real-time index on Beef Market Central based on the 800-pound steer late in the day on Wednesday, setting at 159.12. That was down 65 cents. Didn't have near as many big sales on Wednesday as we had on Tuesday, and had a lot of, especially Phillip, Northern Plains sales that were big and kind of kept that price up there on Tuesday. But Wednesday, your big sale was OKC West, 11,400 head for the two-day auction. Of course, they had a lot of calves on Tuesday, but your feeders on Wednesday sold $2 to $4 higher. Despite the lower board and despite the fat cattle trades leveling off, still seeing the gains picking up from last week's fat cattle trade. Your calves on Tuesday were $2 to mostly $4 higher, and of course they included a lot of those real good consignments on that Oklahoma Quality Beef Network there, and those cattle helped to keep those calves up there a little higher. Of course, the unweaned calves, there weren't as many of them, and they had a lot of good weaned calves there, so the unweaned calves kind of had a lower undertone there in El Reno. But you look at that report out of El Reno and OKC West, see they had well over 3,000 head for the Wednesday sale. And if you look at some of those quotes, still pretty good, and they might have sold those 6-weight calves that sold on Wednesday, which there would have been more of a yearling type or a long wean type than they had on Tuesday. But 476 head weighed 663 in the 6-weight calves at 160.24. That was up nearly $9 on the weighted average compared to the week before. Get into the biggest run, which was 7-weight steers, 901 head of those from 7 to 800 pounds, average 749 at 162.77, well over $2 more than the 6-weight calves, because you had more of those yearling type and more of those long time wean calves in that 7-weight deal. And that 162.77 was up $2.50 on the weighted average compared to the previous week. And on the 8-weight steers, not quite 450 head of those weighed 842 at 158.50, and that was just short of $2 higher on the weighted average. Dodge City, Kansas had 3,000 head on Wednesday, steady to $4 higher, with the most of the gain seen on your yearling heifers, which sold pretty well there. But look at an individual quote on Wednesday, and that was in El Reno. 101 head sold at 3:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday, weighed 771 at 168. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.